In an ideal world, we would all have that ultimate job, one that brings us joy, makes us feel validated as useful human beings, all while paying our bills and setting us up for a relaxing retirement. Unfortunately, life doesn't work that way. It has a way of slapping you in the face and waking you up to reality, and that is what I talk about in this episode of the Prevailable channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Prevailable channel. My name is Jeremy Tanya, and I'm a veteran web developer who has worked with many of the top marketing agencies in Hollywood. Much of that time has been as a freelancer, which I've always preferred over full-time positions. As you can imagine, being a freelancer requires being accountable for your own professional ethics and holding yourself up in the face of dire challenges. This is what this channel is all about, and I invite you to click on the like and subscribe button down below. When you do, be sure to tap the bell icon and click on Select All to receive notifications whenever I post new episodes. There are times in our lives when things don't align with how we dreamed it would. Instead, here we are taking shit from our bosses and colleagues at work while making ends meet on a monthly basis. The job sucks, but it pays our bills. So what are you supposed to do if you hate your job with a passion and have no choice but to deal with it? Now, when my friends asked me to do an episode about this, my first gut reaction was, oh, jeez, that's easy. Quit. We laughed about it, but it quickly turned into a serious conversation because it really is a situation many people face. Now, everybody has their own reasons why they end up in such a precarious situation. For me, it was early in my career. My friends who know me best call the late 90s my dark ages. I was barely making a living, working just enough hours to pay my rent and maybe my most important or urgent bills every month. Sometimes my brother and I had to ask for an extra week to get our rent in. Mac and cheese, ramen packets, discount frozen pizza were bought with our last resort bowl, which was sometimes filled with coins we accumulated and saved for especially desperate times. Then I had to go to work to deal with customers who made it very obvious they felt they were above me, coworkers who seemingly had no idea what they were selling, and bosses who had their own manager stuff to deal with. I hated my job, I hated my situation, and I had the constant dread of not making it to the next pay cycle. For you, it's probably different. Maybe you're at a different point in your career. Maybe it's for health reasons and not financial. Or it might be external environmental or industry factors outside of your control. My point is, I get what it's like to have to deal with a job you absolutely hate and have no choice but to just take it. So let's talk about this. When it comes down to it, in nearly all instances, people who say they have no choice to stay at their lousy job are only bound by the feeling that they are. The popular reasoning I keep hearing, for example, is, I have children, I can't leave. To them, I say, it's a proven fact that stress is one of the top causes of mortality rates. Globally, approximately 5 million deaths are stress-related annually. The stress from your job is literally killing you. Something at some point is going to have to give, and in this instance, are you really going to choose your job? Ask yourself, is this sustainable? The way I see it, the only choice you don't have is to leave. It's time to form an exit plan. Put a timetable on it, whether it be 2 weeks or 2 years. Just have a plan. There's always a way. It's just a matter of widening your scope for considering opportunities and what you're willing to do in order to do so. Identify why you're feeling stuck. Is it because you ultimately choose to not be open to opportunities outside of your bubble? There are some positions that don't necessarily require that you have an actual personal interest in. You just need to know how to do the job well. I know jumping into something unknown to you is a scary proposition, but there are companies out there that actually do tend to their business with a sense of respect and accountability. In my mind, hating your job and dreading to deal with it every day is the worst possible scenario I'd find myself in. I'd be desperate to get the hell out of there, even if it meant taking a pay cut to start at a lower ranking position. To me, Taking on something new doesn't mean just taking a lower paying job. I look at it as a breath of fresh air and a new start that also translates to new opportunities. And it's all just temporary. The way I see it, being stuck in a soul-sucking position is like being strapped down in restraints and a straitjacket, sinking to the bottom of a lake. You can't breathe, you can't grab onto anything, and you're feeling that constant pull down to the bottom. You're stuck. What you need to do is unstuck yourself. And all you need to start with is a little bit of wiggle room. I suggest taking a strategic approach. The first thing you need to do is take inventory of every asset you have at your disposal. I'm not just talking about financial and skill set assets. You need to account for everything, including your personality traits, interests, mental tendencies, anything that can be read as an advantage. Reassessing your personal skills. Write down every single one of your skills. Focus on what you're good at, whether you like it or not. Remember, you hate your job, and your only goal for now is to find something new to better your situation. Reassess what you're interested in and have a deep knowledge of. Some of these interests may be really obvious to you, and others may be so second nature to you that you might not even see it. Maybe you're the tech type like me, who just tends to stay on top of current and upcoming technology. Or maybe you're like my friend who is very well versed in the art of conversation and argument. If you question whether it's worth noting or not, then it is. Everything counts. Here's a tip. Aside from doing this on your own, you can also get an outside perspective of your strengths. Have you ever noticed it's much easier to see strengths in other people than it is to see them in ourselves? Have a sit-down conversation with each of your friends, preferably in person and individually. Maybe do a tax-deductible lunch. Ask them what it is that makes them enjoy hanging out with you. Preempt the request and clarify that you're trying to reassess what your strengths are as a professional. This is not an encouragement or hyping up session. It's a nitty-gritty but casual conversation and is meant to help recognize what direction you want to take your career. If they start listing vague things like you're nice or you're talented, etc., dig in and ask, nice as in how? Jot all of this down. It's helpful to see everything in front of you rather than just in your head. One exercise I did in the past that really helped get the juices flowing was to write each of these on an index card so I could lay them down on the ground and swap them, group them, and mix them up visually. There's something about writing them down physically that seems to make them real. You're not necessarily looking for answers here, just objectively locking these acknowledgments in your head for future use. Our brains have a tendency to always have something cooking on the back burner, and right now, you're just providing the ingredients. There are only 24 hours in a day. What is that I hear? I think I'm hearing some of you groaning about how you don't have time or you don't want to deal with this after a full workday. Okay, so you're telling me you hate your job, you put in so much of your energy into dealing with your daily stuff, but you're not willing to spend even a bit of that on yourself? There's no easy way out of this. The obvious fact is the more time you put into yourself, the sooner you'll get yourself out of your situation. Here's all I'm going to ask from you. Before you turn off your mental clock at the end of each day, dedicate just another half hour on yourself. I mean, come on, it's just another half hour. This can be used for anything from literally sitting in a dark room plotting your master plan to working on a new skill. If you give yourself a half hour every day, we're talking about 15 hours a month of time working on your own stuff. I know you've spent more than that bitching about your job on a daily basis. By the way, none of these methods are bloated ideas I've never practiced myself. This is literally what I do whenever I'm in a bad place. I've purposefully sat in a dark room, Batman style, and thought of battle plans to get my ass out of my situation. Many times, once I start my half hour at the end of my day, it easily creeps into hours. Coping with a job you hate is soul-crushing and can turn the brightest optimist into the darkest cynicist. In my opinion, people choose to tell themselves they're stuck, and they're just afraid of considering their choices. And honestly, I don't blame them. Uncertainty is scary as hell. Always keep in mind, fear makes courage seem like a foolish option to consider. Anyways, that's it for now. Thank you for joining me, and as always, keep your chin up, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.